Scorpio, there is someone far away, whether physically or emotionally distant, but who can't get you out of their head. And this person is about to do something that will completely change the dynamic between you. Something unexpected. Something you probably don't imagine they'd have the courage to do. And you need to know this now, before it happens. Because how you react will determine the course of an important part of your life for the next few months. You know exactly who I'm talking about. That person who popped into your mind the second you read someone distant. It could be someone from your past you've cut off contact with. It could be someone you've recently drifted apart from. It could be someone who is physically close but emotionally thousands of miles away. It could be someone you still love but no longer speak to. It could be someone who hurt you and you swore you'd never pay attention to them again. Whoever this person is, they're about to break the silence, bridge the distance, make a move toward you that will take you completely by surprise. And here's why this is so urgent. This person isn't going to do it today or tomorrow. It's going to happen in the next few weeks. And when it does, you'll only have a few seconds to decide how to respond. You won't have time to process, to ask for advice, to weigh the pros and cons. It will be a moment of pure intuition where you'll need to completely trust your inner wisdom, to know whether to open the door or keep it locked forever. And I need to prepare you for that moment now, while you still have mental clarity, before the emotion of real contact clouds your judgment. Are you ready to discover exactly what this distant person is going to do and how you should respond? Let me tell you what's been happening on the other side of this distant person. They've been internally conflicted for weeks, maybe months. Waking up in the middle of the night thinking about you, picking up their phone 1,000 times to text you and giving up at the last second, mentally rehearsing what they would say if they had the chance to talk to you again, creating and discarding scenarios for reconciliation, obsessively analyzing every memory they have with you, trying to identify where everything went wrong or what could have been different. This person is being consumed by your absence in a way they didn't expect. When you drifted apart, whether by your choice, theirs, or due to circumstances, they probably thought they could move on easily. Perhaps they even felt initial relief, but time passed. And instead of the pain lessening, it intensified. Instead of forgetting you, they began to value you in ways they never did when you were available. And now it's reached the point where the silence between you has become too unbearable to continue. For Scorpios born between October 23rd and November 2nd, this distant person is someone from your romantic past who never fully got over what you had. For those born between November 3rd and 12th, it's a family member or close friend who made serious mistakes and now finally understands the magnitude of what they lost. And for those born between November 13th and 21st, it's someone you distanced yourself from because you needed space to grow, and now that person has evolved enough to perhaps deserve a second chance in your life. What this distant person will do is this. They will reach out to you, not casually or superficially. It won't be a generic, "Hi, how are you" message. It will be a deep, vulnerable, honest contact. They will open their heart in a way they may never have before. They will admit mistakes they weren't mature enough to acknowledge before. They will express feelings they were previously afraid to reveal. They will make declarations you may have waited a long time to hear, but which are now arriving outside the moment you were expecting. And here's the most intense part. This person will offer you exactly what you wanted from them in the past. The apologies you expected, the recognition of your worth that you deserved. The willingness to do things differently that you begged for so long. The clarity about their feelings that you so desperately needed. Everything you asked for and didn't receive at the right time will arrive now, when you're no longer expecting it, when you've already rebuilt your life without them, when you've already made peace with their absence. And that's exactly why this is so dangerous. Because when someone offers you what you desperately wanted in the past, it's incredibly difficult to say no, even when you rationally know you've already moved on, that you don't need it anymore. The part of you that suffered for not having it before will want to seize this belated opportunity. It will want to validate that its suffering wasn't in vain. It will want to believe that it will finally receive what it always deserved. Can you feel the conflict that will arise within you when that moment arrives? Scorpio, what I'm about to reveal is crucial for your preparation. This distant person isn't looking for you because they've fundamentally changed who they are. They're looking for you because they've finally felt the consequences of losing you, and those are two completely different things. Real change happens through deep inner work, therapy, brutal self-reflection, confronting destructive patterns. Regret happens when the pain of loss becomes greater than the pride of admitting error. In most cases, what you'll get isn't someone transformed, but someone who regrets it. Not someone who did the work of becoming the person you deserved, but someone who finally realized what they lost. And the difference is crucial, because regret without transformation only leads to repeating the same patterns with different promises. It leads to a brief honeymoon period where everything seems different, followed by an inevitable return to the same behaviors that caused the original estrangement. Your Scorpio intuition already knows this. You've already learned, probably the hard way, that pretty words without consistent actions are just emotional manipulation, even when the person genuinely believes what they're saying at the moment. You've already understood that promising change is easy when you're desperate to recover something lost, but maintaining those changes when the desperation passes is a completely different story. But here's what will complicate things further. You still feel something for this person. It could be residual love. It could be genuine affection. It could just be the memory of what you were or could have been. It could be curiosity about who she became during this time apart. It could be a secret desire to be proven wrong about your decision to distance yourself. Whatever it is, it will create an emotional opening that you'll need to carefully guard when her contact arrives. And she'll know exactly how to reach you. She'll use the shared memories she knows are meaningful to you. She'll mention specific moments that touch on sensitive points in your heart. She'll speak in the emotional language you respond to. She'll demonstrate that she knows you deeply, that she paid attention, that she values everything you are. And every word will resonate because you'll recognize the authenticity of the connection you had, even if the relationship itself was problematic. Scorpio, you need to understand that not every return deserves to be accepted. Not every reconciliation is healthy. Not every second chance should be given. Some doors need to remain closed, not because you haven't forgiven, not because you still hold a grudge, but simply because you've evolved beyond the point where that person can reach you. Because you've built a new life that has no room for old patterns, because you've learned to value yourself in ways that make it impossible to accept less than you deserve. The urgency of this message lies in preparing you to make this distinction in the heat of the moment, when emotions are running high, when nostalgia is strong, when the part of you that loves deeply wants to believe that this time will be different. You need to be clear now about what your non-negotiable boundaries are, about what kind of evidence of real change you would need to see before considering reopening any doors, about how much consistent action you would require before trusting again. And you also need to be clear about something equally important. It's okay if you don't want to give that person a chance, regardless of how sincere their approach is. You don't owe anyone access to your life just because they finally realized your worth. You're not obligated to accept belated apologies just because they're honest. You don't need to reward someone's repentance by jeopardizing the peace you've built in their absence. The fact that this person is going to make this move doesn't mean you have to reciprocate. The fact that they are going to open up vulnerably doesn't mean you have to open up back. The fact that they are going to offer what you wanted in the past doesn't mean you still want or need it now. Your life has changed, you have changed, and what worked for the old version of you may no longer work for who you have become. But Scorpio, I also need to tell you this. If after everything, after carefully processing, after observing actions and not just words, after protecting your peace above all else, If even then you feel a genuine calling to give it a chance, don't let the fear of repeating the past stop you from exploring what could be. Wisdom isn't about never trusting again. Wisdom is about trusting selectively, with clear boundaries, with eyes wide open, prepared to walk away at the first real sign that old patterns are returning. What this distant person does will put you at a crossroads. On one side, the safe path of keeping everything as it is, protecting the peace you've worked so hard to achieve. On the other side, the risky path of exploring whether something genuinely new can be built with someone from your past. There is no universal right answer. There is only the right answer for you, based on who you are now, what you want from life, what you are willing to risk, and what your deepest intuition tells you about this specific person. And your intuition will tell you the truth if you're willing to listen to it. Scorpio has one of the most accurate and powerful intuitions in the entire zodiac. You can read people on levels they don't even know exist. You detect falsehood from miles away. You sense when something doesn't add up, even when everything seems perfect on the surface. Trust this ability now more than ever. When that distant person reaches out to you, there will be two levels of communication happening simultaneously. What they say with words and what they transmit energetically. Pay attention to both, but trust the latter more. Words can be rehearsed, polished, optimized to reach you, but energy doesn't lie. The real vibration behind the words will tell you if you're dealing with genuine transformation or temporary regret. Observe whether her focus is primarily on how she feels, or if she demonstrates genuine understanding of what you've been through. Notice if she takes full responsibility without buts or justifications, or if she's still partially blaming you for the problems you had. Observe if she talks about specific changes she's made in her life and in herself, or if she only makes vague promises about how things will be different this time. Observe if she respects your boundaries immediately, or if she tries to push, manipulate, or create guilt to get what she wants. All these details will give you the information you need to make the right decision. And the right decision isn't necessarily saying yes or no. It could be saying maybe, but first I need to see X, Y, and Z over a few months. It could be saying, I accept your apology and wish you the best, but I don't see room for reconnection in my current life. It could be saying, I'm willing to talk more, but with these specific limits that are non-negotiable. You have complete autonomy to create the terms of what happens next. Scorpio, something that can help you in this process is remembering why you drifted apart in the first place. Not the romanticized or softened version of the story, but the raw truth. What really happened, how you really felt, how many times you gave it chances before, how many promises were broken, how much you sacrificed trying to make it work, how much of yourself you lost in the process, how long it took you to recover after it was all over. These memories aren't meant to fuel resentment. They're meant to give you perspective at a time when emotions can distort reality. They're meant to remind you that you've lived this movie before and know how it ends, unless something fundamental has truly changed. They're meant to protect you from the temptation to repeat cycles you've already painfully overcome. At the same time, also acknowledge how much you've grown since then. You're no longer the person who tolerated certain things. You're no longer the person who settled for crumbs. You're no longer the person who lost themselves trying to please someone who didn't value you. You've developed strength, wisdom, self-esteem, and clarity about what you deserve. And this new version of you won't accept the same standards that the old version accepted. So if you decide to give it a chance, it will be under completely different conditions. You won't be caught off guard by red flags that you ignore because you want to believe in the best. You won't make concessions in areas that are fundamental to your well-being. You won't wait years for changes that should happen in months. You won't carry the burden of making a relationship work alone. You will demand reciprocity, respect, consistent effort, and love demonstrated through actions, not just words. And if at some point you realize you're falling back into the same old patterns, that you're becoming someone you don't want to be, that you're losing the peace you worked so hard to achieve, you'll leave. No drama, no elaborate justifications, no giving 1,000 extra chances. You'll simply acknowledge that you tried, that it didn't work, and that it's okay to let go for good this time. This is the mindset you need to have when that distant person reaches out to you. Cautious openness combined with firm boundaries, a willingness to explore possibilities tempered with an unwavering commitment to your own well-being. Realistic hope balanced with preparedness for disappointment, and above all, the absolute clarity that you will be okay no matter what happens, because you have already proven to yourself that you can live and even thrive without that person. The contact is coming. In the next few weeks, you'll look at your phone and see that distant person's name appear. Your heart will race, your emotions will rise intensely to the surface, and at that moment, you'll remember this message. You'll remember that you were prepared for this. You'll remember that you have complete control over how you respond. You'll remember that you don't need to decide anything immediately. You'll remember that you can ask for time, space, evidence of real change before considering anything serious. And most importantly, it will remind you that you deserve to be chosen the first time, not just when someone realizes what they've lost. That you deserve to be valued consistently, not just in moments of regret. That you deserve relationships where you don't have to beg for basic respect, honest communication, and decent treatment. That you deserve people who do the inner work before returning to your life, not those who expect you to be a therapist while they try to change. Scorpio, this urgency isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to empower you. It's meant to ensure that when that moment arrives, because it will, you won't be caught off guard. You'll be mentally, emotionally, and spiritually prepared to make the choice that honors who you've become, not who you were when that person was still part of your daily life. And if you choose to give it a chance, let it be a conscious choice, not an emotional reaction. If you choose to keep the door closed,